open up your binder to page 9. And Patty, was this page in the blue packet?
Not having a blue packet. I don't know. Let's see.
Yeah, actually it's the first one.
Okay,
If you
good.
didn't bring your binder and Patty gave you a blue packet, if you open it up, it's page 9. This is Unit 2. It's Patricia Polacco's author study. The students are going to be writing a personal narrative, which is the W3 standard. So we wanted you guys to open up to page 9 because on page 9 is the writing process. The first step of the writing process is immersion. Then it goes to generating ideas. I'm going to peek over your shoulder because I don't have them all memorized yet either. Selecting, collecting, drafting, revising, editing, and publishing. So this is the writing process that should be up in all teachers' classrooms. Okay? And you've got to support our teachers. And I don't mind telling on myself in my own school. I went into one of the 5th grade classrooms the other day. He had a great writing process poster up that he bought at a writing or one of the teacher stores. It was wonderful, but it does not match this. So this is what the county has adopted, and this is the writing process that we want to have up in our rooms. Okay? So I kind of want to introduce you guys to just some bedrocks that you need to see in the classrooms as the teachers are implementing writing fundamentals, and particularly this unit. With the Patricia Polacco author study, one of the books is Rotten Richie and the Ultimate Dare. Patty's holding that one up. And I've actually got them listed over here on an anchor chart. One of the other ones is Thank You, Mr. Fokker. And the last one is Emma Kate. And there's a few others in there. The lesson I'm just going to preview with you guys is Immersion Day 5. So if you have your book, you can actually turn to Immersion Day 5.
And I think it should be in this blue packet, right?
The blue packet has Immersion Day 1.
Oh, day 1, but not day 5. Okay.
So you can share with a part of your table. I'm not going to go into depth. We're going to do that a little bit later. But I just kind of want to give you guys some look-fors. One of the look-fors is over here. And I'll show all 4 of them to you. Every teacher that's teaching writing should have some type of anchor chart up in their room. Okay? There's going to be an ongoing chart that demonstrates author's craft. And then each lesson has appendices where they give you some other charts that the kids may use or some handouts that the kids may use. So with this particular lesson, and Patty, you know I can never read the bottom. Can you read that to me?
Sure. So the question here for this part of this day 5 lesson is, how does this image convey the relationship between the narrator and her brother Richie? What do you notice about the use of color?
So in this particular immersion lesson, the kids are going through and recognizing how authors use illustrations to further expand the story. So my anchor chart here addresses that. I have a blank one up here and then one that I completed. Rotten Richie, it shows humor. Richie is a jokester. He's making fart noises. Onomatopoeia, you can hear, it's kind of hard to see, but it has the squat, 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 what he's doing with his armpit, and the facial expressions. Okay, lots of color in the cheek. She's holding her nose. Next slide then. Oops, sorry, that's okay. Then this is Thank You, Mr. Fokker. If you were at Toolkit School, you remember this. Okay. Definite example of a complex text. It's one of the books that's in this particular unit of study. And again, we're asking the same question, using illustrations to convey meaning. This is what I discussed with the students and fill in on my anchor chart. Facial expressions, boys appear mean or sinister. Trisha looks hurt. Colored red faces, dark shadows around Trisha. She looks desperate. And if you've read the book, why is Trisha desperate? She can't read. How does she get attention in school, though? So this is part of the author study with Patricia Polacco. She always got attention in school by drawing through her illustrations. All the kids would crowd around her and want to be part of her life when she was illustrating. Okay? So it presents itself in the author study. Okay? The next one, this is Emma Kate. Down here on my anchor chart, again discussing the illustrations and how they convey meaning. The color draws focus to Trisha and her clothing. It's a common theme in Polacco's books. It's all about her. And then what's interesting is the color's on Trisha, but then the pencil and the shading is on the elephant in the room, so to speak, which is her imaginary friend. Okay. So the suggestion actually in the lesson in the appendices was an anchor chart that looked like this. I'm at Sept Pleasant, we're an autism center, so I made some changes that were appropriate for my students. But the common theme is that I had an author's craft chart up in the room, in the lesson, when I was discussing it with the students.
And this is something you would build. Randy did this for us ahead of time, which was really nice, but this is something that we build through the lessons with the children, and then they go back and refer to them later on when they're trying to bring in different aspects of writer's craft, author's craft, into their own pieces that they're working on.
And during the course of the unit study, these are also posters that need to remain up in the classroom.
Right.
And that's a piece of information we also shared with principals, that when they're conducting observations during these lessons, that they should see some type of an author's craft chart, or the students working from some type of anchor chart being engaged. So a lot of the question has been, well, our Writers Workshop, how does it support Common Core? So we put the standard up there. RL on 3.7, Reading Literature, explain how specific aspects of a text illustrations contribute to what is conveyed by the words in a story. For example, how they create mood, emphasize aspects of a character or setting. So is writing supporting our reading standards? Absolutely. Reading's also supporting the writing standards, and we're going to show you how the Writing Fundamentals unit does that a little bit later in a little more detail.
Sorry, backwards again. My computer does it the other way. Sorry.
That's because you have one of the fancy smancy apples. All right, our training outcomes. We're going to explain the Common Core state standards, Writing Standard 3. W3 is the personal narrative. We're going to unpack the Writing Fundamentals unit of study. We're going to identify some clear expectations and student outcomes. And we're going to use writing fundamentals to plan instruction. So we're actually going to, we have a lesson that Tricia was actually nice enough to write out for you. But the goal then, I believe at the next PDLT session, is that you guys also bring back a lesson that was presented in your building to share at the next PDLT. So we're going to give you an exemplar of what a lesson looks like that Tricia wrote. Okay? All right?
All right, so you had the same question this morning in math, I believe, about what does implementing the Common Core state standards mean for instruction? So if you would just turn and talk at your tables for just a minute about thinking in terms of English language arts, what does implementing the Common Core standards mean for us? And then we'll talk about it. So just turn and talk at your tables just for a minute.
Uh-oh.
It's all right. 1 minute, we got it. Great. All right, so let's come back together, and does anyone have any thoughts they'd like to share about this? Implementing Common Core in relationship to English language arts. Yes?
We were speaking of detail about more planning and attention to utilizing various resources to implement instruction.
Could you all hear that? Lots and lots of planning and utilizing different resources in order to enhance instruction.
Do you know what's interesting about that, Patty, if you don't mind if I chime in? The Pearson is causing me a lot of planning, because I'm also like coaching 3 different grade levels. But I got to tell you, the writing fundamentals, once they open up the binder and start to read through it, that's the easiest part of my planning, is getting ready for the writing. It really is.
All right, anybody else have something they'd like to share? Well, we have a few things we can discuss here on our next slide about exactly these kinds of things. So back when we first got our state curriculum, I remember spending lots of afternoons unpacking the standards. So now we have that to do yet again. No, we have different standards to think about as we begin to plan our instruction. And we have to understand what it is that they are asking us to help our students know and be able to do, and also how those standards build over the years from kindergarten all the way up through 12th grade. Clear expectations for learning goals and objectives. That's true no matter what, isn't it? We always have to be thinking about that. Understanding the interconnectedness of the standards. So every day in English language arts, we are going to be reading, writing, speaking, and listening. So the standards are integrated. Establishing the classroom environment as a literacy community, and we'll talk about more about that in just a few minutes, but that's what we've been doing as we began this year. setting up our routines and procedures, and also helping to develop a community of learners that is a community of learners that has respect for each other, and helping our students understand that no matter how good we are at reading and writing, we can always become better. So we're all in this together. And then this last piece, which we couldn't go very far into any discussion of Common Core without mentioning this, is this whole idea of close reading, right? So helping our students understand and also helping us understand that it's no longer one and done with a piece of text. It's reading and then rereading the text for different purposes, and maybe not the entire text every time that we reread, but rereading the text for a purpose so that we can dig deeper into it and get that underlying meaning, depending on what our purpose is. So, as we think about planning, and we have collaborative planning sessions or teachers planning on their own, we have to think about the things that we all need. So we have our Common Core standards, right? Because they're our overarching set of standards that we're working from. We have our curriculum maps, which help us with pacing, with which selections we're using, what units we're using with writing fundamentals, all of those pieces that we need as we try to implement the standards. Then we have a whole variety of text on the bottom right now. So we've got level text, we've got mentor text, we've got our anthologies, we have National Geographic's a whole in 3rd through 5th. We have lots and lots of different kinds of texts to help us as we think about complex texts and the tasks that we need to accomplish. And then you see in the bottom left corner that Writing Fundamentals Kit and the binder, which, as Randy mentioned a minute ago, is really very helpful in helping us plan our lessons for Writers Workshop. And the other thing I really need to mention, I think it's always helpful to remind our teachers, is that it really helps when we're planning collaboratively. All these texts are new to all of us. The novels are new, the anthology selections are new, the Writing Fundamentals texts are new. So if we're going to plan together, it's really helpful if we read the text before we come to planning, right? So our planning time is so limited that if we're spending our time trying to skim through the text really quick so that we can plan the lesson, then we haven't really been as effective in the use of our time. So, where have we been so far this year, and where are we going? This is a year-long view from a curriculum map in 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade. The kindergarten, 1st, and 2nd grade ones look different from this, but every curriculum map has a year-long view. And this is a really helpful page for the teachers to look at so that they can see at a glance how many units we have, how many weeks each unit takes. Those are hyperlinked so that they can click and go right to it. Our themes and essential questions. Now, we have just been asked at my school to post not only the lesson objective, but also the standard written out, as well as the essential question. So here at a glance are our essential questions for each of our units. The standards that each unit focuses on, the text that can be used, and then we have a writing piece. So writing to source, which includes that daily routine writing, right? I'm sure that many of you, if you've had anything to do with language arts instruction this year, have seen those routine writing prompts. And then we have a performance-based task, which you'll see periodically throughout the unit. And I would also add to that we are looking at these as ways to help our students and ourselves understand what Common Core tasks are going to be asking us to do. So the caution with that is going to be that these are meant for teaching, especially at the beginning. So we wouldn't want to post the task or distribute the task and say, okay, go ahead, have at it, and then give them an assessment grade in school max. Because that really wouldn't be fair to them, would it? We really have to help them understand how to unpack that question and develop a response. And there are models in the 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade curriculum maps for those tasks, some suggested responses. And then in the last column, you see the writing fundamentals, which units and which writing standards the units are focusing on. Okay. All right, Unit 1. There's a page like this in each map for each unit. This is a 3rd, 4th, and this is a 4th grade example, I believe, but this is how the 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade ones look. It's really helpful to help the teachers understand where we are going in each of the units, because you can see a little description for each lesson cycle.